Good morning and welcome to the Inner Harbor Cast, a part of the Community Connection. My name's Skip Clark. It's so good to have you on board this morning. As you know, we're in touch with the community, and today is no exception. We're going to be talking ducks, just a little bit about ducks, maybe a whole lot about ducks. But Dave Simmons, who is the director, Ducks Unlimited.
Director.
What is it?
A director.
A director. So, all right. So you have
a member of the board of directors.
A member of the board of directors, and he's here to tell us a little bit about Ducks Unlimited and what it's all about. And let's just start from the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about Ducks Unlimited.
So the Syracuse Ducks Unlimited chapter is a fairly new member of our federation. We've got 30 some odd member clubs and organizations. Ducks Unlimited overall was founded in 1937 in the in the depths of the Depression, which seems pretty fantastic to me that there were people with spare money in the Depression that could actually do that sort of thing. And as of this past year, their past accounting cycle, 87 cents of every dollar they raise, goes into conservation. So that's a pretty good record as conservation organizations go, because most conservation organizations are in the 80 to 90% range, because you do have some overhead with, again, you got to pay accountants to keep track of all that money. And, you go to Washington or Albany and do some lobbying. And other than that, their money goes right back into habitat projects.
Wow. I mean, it's such a big thing that you have going on with Ducks Unlimited. I think it's a lot of what people like myself and maybe our viewers and our listeners don't realize. But it's conservation.
Right.
All right. So what are Ducks Unlimited's current top priorities?
So Ducks Unlimited's current top priorities, as they have been almost forever, are clean water and wetlands, which help actually create clean water. Because a properly maintained wetland has a lot of boggy areas and grasses and reeds and whatnot that actually help filter water as it flows back toward the ocean, which is basically where all water goes.
And how do you determine which habitats or areas are most needed in these conservation efforts? How does that go down?
It's a pretty involved process. So basically, it starts on a local level with a local sportsman's organization like the Onondaga County Federation of Sportsmen's Clubs, or and a lot of these organizations cooperate with each other, like Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation or Pheasants Forever, or Rough Grouse Society, or some of those. They cooperate with each other because basically there's no such thing as a habitat that's only good for one form of wildlife.
Really?
If you create a habitat that's good for ducks and geese, then you've also created a habitat for, obviously the predators that prey upon the ducks and geese, but also shorebirds, because the water's cleaner, the fish are healthier. If you've got healthy fish, then you're drawing eagles and ospreys and that sort of wildlife also. And again, because you've created good habitat, you're also gonna create habitat for deer and raccoons and foxes and coyotes and all that sort of stuff.
And that kind of gets out of hand every once in a while. I mean, I see on the news recently, Dave, is the fact that there's so many deer and they're trying to take care of that situation.
So up until recently, housing projects tended to be pretty compacted in that, you'd have a house on a half or maybe a third acre lot. And the trend in real estate lately seems to be going toward quote unquote mini estates, where you've got a house on somewhere between 3 and 5 acres of land. And because of this, a lot of people that buy these mini estates with 3 to 5 acres of land, they plant a lot of shrubbery, flower gardens. They've obviously got a lot of lawn, and to go along with that, between the properties, there's probably some hedgerows. So it's really good habitat for deer because deer are edge animals,
Mm-hmm.
and this actually feeds into the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. One of their initiatives lately is the Young Forest Initiative, where they're basically harvesting mature hardwood forests and then replanting them to successional growth, where you start out with grassland progresses into shrubland basically, and then as the shrubs start to take over the grassland, then larger and larger trees will start to establish
So you can,
themselves until we get back to the mature hardwood forests that need to be
right. So
harvested
that
and start over
habitat
again.
changes.
Absolutely.
And yeah, wow.
Yeah.
This is something I think a lot of us don't realize to what effect that can affect what we have for like climate change and all that. I know you, Ducks Unlimited, the Federation of Sportsmen's Clubs, they have a lot to do with the climate change. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So, there are varying feelings about climate change. Some people think everything is man-made, which I think is a pretty egotistical approach to life. Because basically the climate of this earth has been changing ever since it condensed from a ball of swirling gases to what we recognize as the earth today. And if you look at the history of the earth, we've gone through ice ages and warming periods and more ice ages and warming periods, and it appears that at the present time we're in one of these warming periods. So
well, I
that's
firmly believe it's a climate change.
Yeah,
I mean,
I mean, there's like I say,
were.
there's no denying that the climate is changing. It's just the extent to which human habitation is affecting the rate and or the severity of climate change.
Now I know Thursday night you guys had a party at the zoo. And a good time had by all. But in the funds for that party, if somebody buys into it, where does that all go back to Ducks Unlimited?
So all of the money that gets raised at the local events goes, and this is true for Ducks Unlimited, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Ruffed Grouse, Pheasants Forever, whoever. The money goes to the national organization. Some of the groups like Pheasants Forever and Ruffed Grouse, a little bit of the money is allocated to remain locally, so that the local group can engage in some local habitat work, like the local Pheasants Forever chapter. They do a lot of seed sales so that local members can plant some of their land in like a pollinator seed mix, or they have cover seed mixes and food plot seed mixes. And so basically the different seed mixes are designed for different things. Like a pollinator seed mix is designed to encourage bees and other bugs and small birds that help pollinate plants. And then the cover seed mixes, they create the kind of cover that wildlife needs to safely hide in, to hide from predators. And then the food plot is pretty self-explanatory. It's stuff that the wildlife eats.
But we have the circle of life,
right?
It come and go. So, but you're providing a great habitat for their life in general. So that's pretty cool.
So like a lot of the Ducks Unlimited money is going to end up going to places like the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge, and then there's just on the northern border of the wildlife refuge, there's some privately held land that's called the Northern Montezuma Wetlands Complex.
Okay. I see the Montezuma area every time I go west on the thruway, and I see that big, I guess it would be an eagle overlooking the thruway, and it's just a beautiful sight. And I keep saying someday I'm going to hop off and take a ride through there just to see the wildlife. But it's pretty cool. Can you share a recent success story from one of the projects maybe that you've done with Ducks Unlimited?
Oh,
you've done so many.
Yeah, it's hard to pick a spot to start. So I'm pretty sure that Ducks Unlimited, some of their local money has gone to like Three Rivers Wildlife Management Area has a lot of mixed habitat. They've got everything from grasslands to successional areas to wetlands, right to some mature hardwood forest. So I think part of Ducks Unlimited's money has gone to the wetlands areas in Three Rivers Wildlife Management Area, where we have at least one nesting pair of bald eagles.
Oh, wow, very cool.
So
they're the most beautiful bird.
Yeah.
Here we are at the Inner Harbor, but I come into work every day, and I come down by the shore of the lake, Onondaga Lake.
Yeah.
Come over the bridge by the mall, and of course, and even just across the street here, every once in a while we'll see them.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful bird, and it seems like there's more than ever before. Is that because the habitat is what they're looking for?
So Honeywell spent, I don't know the exact number, but tens of millions of dollars,
a whole lot,
rehabbing the whole Onondaga Lake watershed. And over the last 10 years, there have been very noticeable improvements in the habitat. Honeywell actually has an electronic newsletter that you can subscribe to.
Oh, very cool.
That actually keeps everybody updated on what's going on and how many new species have been counted in their latest wildlife surveys and all that. And
for this area, right?
For this area,
wow,
for the Onondaga Lake watershed.
For the watershed. I love that. Okay.
So, so before Honeywell started their project, Onondaga Lake was known as the most polluted water body in the United States, if not one of the most polluted in the world. And I want to say, as of, I think, 3 years ago, the New York State Department of Health, other than the area right by the
where they
outlet stream from the water treatment plant, has been declared safe for swimming. Which, 30 years ago, I knew a guy to raise money for some charity swam from the chalk cliffs over to the village of Liverpool. And
wow.
Everybody was like, well, let us know when you grow that second head, or, what forms of cancer you develop from being in that water and whatnot. And nowadays,
such a shame that it ended up going that way. But Honeywell has turned it around.
Yeah. Nowadays, after all the work Honeywell's put in, on a relatively calm day, you can go to one of the new fishing piers that Honeywell has helped install. And on a calm day, when the water's not stirred up, you can see the bottom in 15 to 20 feet of water now.
You never used to.
Yeah.
I know. I lived over on that side of town for quite a while. And, growing up.
They have bass fishing tournaments on Onondaga Lake all summer.
Yep. They keep it going.
There are, there's smallmouth and largemouth bass, muskellunge, or not muskellunge, but tiger muskies, which are a hybrid of northern pike and muskellunge. There are some northern pike and pickerels, shad. There are just scores of species.
So
of
here
fish.
We're talking more than just, it's called Ducks Unlimited, but we're talking about conservation in general. We're talking about these habitats.
Again, back to
and everything.
Back to what I said earlier. Doing habitat work for one species benefits many other species. So.
And it's Dave Simmons, who's on the board of directors for Ducks Unlimited. And how long have you been doing this? Obviously, I'd say with your knowledge,
a long time.
Yeah. And how did you get involved, though? Have you always been somebody, an outdoorsman? Or?
Yeah, my father and my uncles and a couple of my aunts have always been outdoors people. Hunt, fish, all that sort of stuff. And I've been a NRA life member since the mid 80s, I think. I want to say I became a life member of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation in probably just about 2000.
Just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, just recently. And
that's what we say.
We raised, among all the different conservation organizations I belong to, I think a conservative estimate is that my fingerprints are on probably $400,000 worth of fundraising in this
That's
area.
awesome, Dave. That's awesome. If somebody that's watching this or listening to this wants to get involved, Ducks Unlimited, how would they go about doing that?
You can go to Ducks Unlimited's website, which is, I think it's just du.org, I think.
Okay, they can always just Google Ducks Unlimited, and it's going to come up. I mean, it's just
go,
amazing.
you can go to our federation's website, which is www.federationofsportsmen.com, and we have a listing of all of our member organizations and contact information.
How is the membership? I mean, times are changing a lot, and there's a lot of people struggling to get members, a lot of groups struggling to get membership.
So since the whole COVID nightmare landed on us,
which changed
the biggest downturn we've seen is in volunteerism. People got used to being locked in their houses for 2 or 3 years, and they seem reluctant to come back out and start volunteering for things again. So that's the biggest downfall there. As far as actual fundraising, again, most of the organizations I'm involved with, including Ducks Unlimited, the fundraising is probably pretty close to pre-pandemic levels. So,
okay, oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah,
that's good. So it's like I say, you are on the board of directors for Ducks Unlimited.
No, for the Onondaga County Federation of Sportsmen.
Oh, I got you.
I'm just a member at large of Ducks Unlimited.
I got you now, but yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought, but it's okay. It's okay. But it's just it's got me wondering that, you have all these events. It's a collaboration of a lot of different organizations coming into one. Everybody works together. Everybody helps each other out. Yet you raise funds for all these different groups, and you distribute accordingly, which is pretty cool. Now, we just had an event last Thursday. You have more events coming up that if somebody wanted to get involved in?
So the biggest event that our federation does on an annual basis is coming up on the 28th and 29th, which is the weekend of National Hunting and Fishing Day.
Okay.
National Hunting and Fishing Day is the 4th Saturday of September every year. And the Onondaga County Federation of Sportsmen's Clubs puts on an event that's called Sportsman's Days out at the Carpenters Brook Fish Hatchery, which is part of the Onondaga County park system. And we're out there open to the public from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. both days. And this event gives people a chance to come out and try their hand at outdoor sports, as well as come in our exhibitor tent and talk to people that are doing educational exhibits from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, Ducks Unlimited, Pheasants Forever, Independent Fur Harvesters, Isaac Walton League, obviously our federation. Our other huge event is Women in Nature, where every spring, almost every year, it's the last Saturday in April, we get about 100 women that come out at no charge and get introductory courses in fly tying, fly fishing, bait fishing, axe throwing, vertical archery, crossbows, rifle shooting, shotgun shooting, canoeing. So for the Women in Nature program, we have a course menu of about 20 different seminars they can choose from. And because it's only a one-day event and we want to give the people enough time to actually get some kind of basic instruction in these pastimes, the women are limited to 4 classroom sessions. So the women can partake in up to 4 of these courses. Some of the courses require 2, like the fly fishing and bait fishing. They spend 1 classroom session going over all the basic techniques, and then we take the ladies out to actually go fishing.
I love
for their second session.
And chances are they're going to come back for more.
Yes.
Once they realize how much fun it is and how relaxing.
So our limitation with the Women in Nature event is basically the size of the club that we have the event at, and there are only 5 or 6 clubs within our organization that have facilities big enough to host 100+ women to do this, because it takes almost 50 volunteers to put on this event for the 100 women, and we serve them a continental breakfast and provide lunch for them. And
oh, nice. Okay.
And nice. We have some raffles so the ladies can purchase some things that hopefully will help them get started in the outdoor sports.
I love that. And this is all taking place at Carpenter's Brook.
Well, the Sportsman's Days event is at Carpenter's Brook.
Okay.
The Women in Nature event rotates among the, like I say, the 5 or 6 or 7 clubs we have that, like we had the event at Pompey Rod and Gun Club for this year. And then for 2025, I think we're scheduled for Camilla's Sportsman's Club.
Very cool. It's my home.
So there you go.
There you go. I know it well. I know it very well. Where do you, what are some of the goals that you like to see for the next decade?
Well, we finally, this past year, accomplished one of our long-term goals, which was to allow the use of rifles for big game hunting in Onondaga County. Going forward, we would certainly like to see more sportsman access to private property within Onondaga County, because that seems to be one of the limiting factors in properly controlling the deer population and getting it down to the numbers that the DEC says is the carrying capacity of the habitat. Because it's
a lot of work.
Yeah, so the state breaks the state's areas down into what they call wildlife management units. And Region 7, which is basically from Oswego and Cayuga counties down through a strip in the center of the state that goes all the way to the Pennsylvania border. In Region 7, like 7F and J, I think, are the two wildlife management areas that have the worst overpopulation of deer, and there's hardly any public property to go hunting on, so you have to try to get permission from private entities. And gotcha. even though the state's general liability law says that landowners are not held responsible for anybody that they're not charging to have access to their property, they're not responsible for anything that person does. So if I go hunting on your property and I trip over a downed log and
I don't want to be held responsible,
twist my knee or something, the state says that the landowner is not responsible for that.
Good. Okay.
But
you got to get that permission.
But you have to, a lot of what we try to do is education, and that a lot of landowners don't understand this, and the landowners think, well, we're just responsible, and and other landowners spend too much time listening to people that they shouldn't listen to about the responsibility of hunters and fishermen and whatnot.
Unfortunately, that's the way it is with a lot of things nowadays.
So again, it's kind of tough to get access to a lot of the private property, which would, it would certainly help. And obviously the new housing development trend where all these mini estates are attracting deer by the hundreds to neighborhoods. You can't discharge a firearm within 500 feet of an occupied dwelling, business, or church or school. So that certainly limits hunting opportunities.
I got you.
And, a lot of communities don't want to allow archery hunting because archery hunting isn't as I guess surgical or clean as
a bullet,
as firearms, where you shoot a deer with a firearm and it dies pretty instantaneously, and if you hit a deer lethally with an arrow, it may still run a couple of hundred yards
before it goes down.
As it gives up. So
I've heard that story through my brother-in-laws who both bow hunt and the others. So all this that you've been talking about, whether it's Ducks Unlimited or any of the other organizations that are involved, it all takes funds. Now, I know you have your events coming up, the one you just had, and then down the road, of course, and all this to bring money in. But if I wanted to go on a website, I could make a donation right there.
Yes.
Let's say I wanted to donate to Ducks Unlimited.
Almost all of the locally active organizations, they have a website nationally that you can go to. Again, if you just know what the name of the organization is,
Mhm,
if you
mhm.
plug that into a search engine, it'll take you to their website. So whether it's Ducks Unlimited, Pheasants Forever, Rocky Mountain Elk
Mhm.
Foundation,
It's all there. You can just,
National Wild Sheep
yep,
Federation, any of those, just
yep.
just search it, and you can go right to a website and make a direct donation.
Exactly. I love it.
Again, getting back to what I said earlier about enough volunteers to put on the local events. I'm sure any of
If
our
you
local
reach out,
chapters, any of
yeah.
our local chapters of any of these organizations, including our federation,
Mhm.
would love to have you step up and say, "Hey, I'd like to help."
I love it. It's been a great conversation this morning.
All
Dave
right.
Simmons of
Okay.
the United Federation of Sportsmen
Right.
Clubs, right? The director.
Onondaga County
Onondaga.
Federation of Sportsmen
All right.
Clubs.
I got to make
Yes,
sure I
I'm
get that right.
member of the board of directors.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
do have some
Oh, okay.
parking passes for Sportsman's Days that you can
Oh, well, you can use
distribute
those,
among your staff, or
or maybe on
have
air.
listeners
Yeah,
call in
exactly.
and
Exactly.
take them up.
I appreciate that.
And since I'm doing this instead of partying with my granddaughter on her birthday, I would like to.
Oh, oh my God. How old is she?
She is 10.
Yep. God bless you.
So
God
I'd like
bless you.
to
I have
say,
8 grandkids, believe it or not. And she's 10.
yeah,
What's her name?
Abby.
Abby. Happy birthday, Abby. Yep. You can see Grandpa. They call you Grandpa, Papa,
Pop up.
Papa.
Pop up.
I
Yeah.
love it. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you.
Nothing better than grandkids. I know.
Yep.
I get
Well,
what I call the goosebumps
great.
chicken noodles.
Great grandkids are okay too.
No, you got some.
We have one of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, God bless you. Doing what you're doing is keeping you
Thank
young
you.
and giving back to the community the way you do. And you've been doing that for a lot of years. And, and especially, does she like ice cream cake or?
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, we'll see if we can get you hooked up.
I have to stop on the way home and pick one up, as a matter of fact.
All right. Well, we're going to work on that. But Dave Simmons, thank you for coming by this morning. Talked a lot about Ducks Unlimited, the Onondaga County Federation of Sportsmen's Clubs, on the board of directors. It's just a great conversation. I want to take a moment to thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting us.